So here we are, Reality Sucks. Sorry I'm late. I had a little bit of stuff to do before I got this on the road. Hope you can see me. I know it's a little different location, but I had to do the show tonight, and so it has to go on. So here I am. So my first thing I want to do is I want to have a moment in silence for the police officer that was shot in New York last night at 12:30 a.m. on July 4th, I think, last night. Miocitos Familia, if I'm saying her name right. So let's have a moment in silence for her right now. Now that we have done that, I so yesterday I couldn't do the show because I was a little upset about her being shot. Now, I don't know. I mean, I guess sometimes you want to blame people or you want to be angry about what happened to this woman. And yes, I am, and everybody should be, uh, because I mean, reading the paper today, supposedly the guy's girlfriend actually called the police and told him that he was on this manic crazy depression or whatever, he was crazy or however you want to call it. He was on probation. He also has social media and posted some things about the police on social media. So I don't understand how this guy was not found before he murdered this woman. But yeah, I was a little hurt yesterday, and I never felt, I don't know, I never felt that way, but I knew that yesterday wasn't a good day. And then I found out yesterday that I knew a girl whose brother is a police officer who actually took her to the emergency room, and she died afterwards. And and she was crying in tears as she's telling me this. And that really put a little sad in my heart, I guess you could say. But yeah, so I don't know how we stop this, how we go about interacting with each other, how we not do this, because this is too much for America. I mean, I don't know how the people live with this every day and not want to do something about it, or even get together and do something about it. But we all have opinions about it. We all sit and talk about how angry we are, how upset we are, but what do we actually do about it when these things happen? You know, I mean, really, do we just talk about it about ourselves and be angry, or we just live our lives in being angry, or are we going to actually go out into the world and try to be better people to each other and try to find out, know your neighbor, because you never know, it could be you, you know what I mean? We can't keep living in, people living in fear now, because you don't know if, you go to the mall, you go to the movies, you go anywhere in the world, you don't know what is going to happen. You go to a concert now, these things are happening. So we have to figure out a way to stop this, or, you got to get to know people. That's what I always say, because if you know somebody's crazy, then, you tell somebody, because if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else. So you just have to figure out what do you want to do to take a stand. Because we definitely can't keep going on like this. It's too much. I don't know if you guys watched the Carmichael show, but they had an episode about this on their show last week. And it was talked about, this guy went to the mall, and in the mall there was a shooting, and he comes home and everybody's worried about him and, asking him questions, and then he goes in to say, I'm fine. But literally, he tells a story later that he was in line, and if it wasn't for the guy behind him letting him go first, he would be the dead guy sitting there rather than the guy that was standing behind him, in front of him. So I don't know. And this whole, I've also been watching, but now that I'm back on Facebook, people are posting racial stuff and getting angry and having these big battles. And this past week, I was a little frustrated with two of my friends who, one I went to high school with, and one who came a friend through a friend, and they were arguing about, so I don't know if you saw the post last week, or if you saw the news or whatever, about this this black man being pulled over with his wife, and the kid is in the back, and the guy is pulling him over because I think he had a busted tail light, and then he's asking him for his license and registration, and the guy tells him, I have a concealed weapon because I have a license to carry one. So now the police officer wants the guy to get out of the car. And I'm wondering, why is he asking this guy to get out of the car? Because he let him know. And this is how this situation, from what after pulling him out, we don't know what happened. We know that he wasn't shot because there was on the news that he didn't die, or if he was shot, we didn't hear about it. But we do know that if he got out of the car and he made any sudden gestures, he could have been shot. Now how, I mean, I guess maybe that was going through his head, but regardless, he ended up being pulled out of the car. So they end up having a spat about people were posting things on the comments on this video. And they end up calling each other racist and miserable and all, and these names, and I jumped in and I said, come on guys, I know both of you. I mean, you can't, this is what we are trying to stop. You know what I mean? We're trying, this social media was really killing who we are, because you read something and you just go in because this is what you are seeing and this is what you're feeling at that moment, and that's not how you should do this. I mean, you have to have some kind of passion about, or empathy, or you gotta have some type of feeling for the next person beside you, or the next race beside you, because I mean, you can't, this is not the way to live. I don't know where I got lost on that subject, but so I was also told this week, so somebody told me this week that I don't think that I am black because of what I said last week when I said a police officer is a human being until he, just like me and you, until he puts on a uniform. And they think that I shouldn't have said that, or I don't think that I'm black. And I said, well, you have to, how do I not know that I'm black? I mean, my mother's black, my father's black. My mother might be mixed from her father, but my dad is black. I grew up black all my life. I mean, look at me. I mean, am I black? I mean, I look black. I know deep down inside I'm black, and I don't understand how somebody could ask that question and then, and go in a rage about it. But anyway, I do know I'm black, so just so everybody knows. But I do have a lot of issues with a lot of things that's been going on. I mean, we got to change our way of thinking, because if we don't change our way of thinking, then this world is going to be a war zone for us to just kill each other, I guess. Because you can just get up and kill who you want. So one of my friends wrote up, anyone who thinks that you don't believe you are black does not know you. Thank you very much, Jimmy, for confirming that. But yeah, you also got to change how you wake up in the morning, because that depends on your day and how you're going to treat people and how you're going to spend your day, whether it be black, whether it be green, purple, brown. But back onto that video, that's what I was talking about. So I've also watched that same video with it turned both ways. I don't know if you've seen the video also on Facebook where the black guy, there's a white guy walking down the street with an AK-47 wrapped around his neck, and he's walking down the street, and the police officer comes to him, come out of his car, and he says, hey, yeah, and they start talking. He didn't pull out his gun, he didn't make the guy get on the ground, he didn't do none of this. The same situation with I think the guy was Mexican or Puerto Rican, he was of Latin descent or maybe black, and he was walking down the street with the AK-47. The police officer saw him. I guess somebody called the police officer and told this guy. He pulls up in the middle of the road, gets behind his car, points the gun at the guy and tells him to get on the ground. And he's telling the guy, I have a license to carry this. And he's like, I don't care, just get on the ground, do what I say. They call some other people, and it was this whole thing. So I don't understand how, this is where you got to stop. You know what I mean? You got to stop the little stuff, because this is the little stuff makes the big stuff. And this is why people are doing what they're doing and why things are going the way they're going. So, and then also we also got to talk about, when these police officers do go to court, and you can't be mad at the law, you got to be able to look mad at your neighbors, because your neighbors are on the jury, and that's who let this guy off. You know what I mean? And if you saw Trevor Noah a couple of weeks ago on his show, he said the same thing. So my camera just fell. Sorry. So you have to. Oh my gosh! And then I just lost my thought again. So gosh, and I can't rewind. So you know, bear with me. So you can't really go on. Oh, and I'm falling again. There we go. And I'm back. So you can't really go on that. So I've also been talking about some stuff, and I had some stuff that I keep writing about and just thinking about, and stuff that I think we might can change as people as we go further in the future and see what we want to change, because we have to, because this is the only way it's going to work. And then I just saw this video before I started watching this, which was why I was a little late. If you saw the Charles Barkley, I forget who the other guy was, and this other white guy who was called Alt-Right, having a conversation with this white guy who was saying all these things about how he want a white world, and then Charles Barkley says, well, if you send all the Mexicans back, there won't be no job. Are you going to do the jobs? And he was like, no, we're going to find some, what did he say? Some other thing. Yes. So, but yeah, he went in and they had this 6-minute conversation. I reposted it on my page, so if you actually watch it, it's about 6 minutes long. It's really intense and it's really good. And Charles Barkley and the guy end up, they have a little talk about it at the end. And he was saying how angry and frustrated he was. But don't be angry, because when you're angry, you want to do something bad to people. But be frustrated, disappointed. Yeah, those are words I think you can use, or find another word, but don't be angry, because angry does build hate, and hate is not good. It's just not good for nobody. It's not good for the soul. It's not good for your heart. It's not good for your body. And it kills people. So yeah, and it gives you ulcers, black folks ulcers. But yeah. So I'm gonna refer to some things that I have written and I have written and I've come up with and read over the past couple of years. As I talked about Tom Brokaw and his 50th anniversary, he did a Dateline episode, and he was talking about what kind of America we live in and how people do things and stuff like that. So yeah, and then the 13th Amendment. There's another movie that I had watched about 6 months ago, and that was really kind of, and these are white people, black people talking about this amendment that keeps us where we're at, and this is why we're at, and we just got to figure out a way how not to be there anymore if we don't want to be there, because that's all it is. Once you figure out where you want to go and how you want to get there, you can do it. I mean, this is nothing but, everybody call it a dream, but it's a life, because that's what you want to be. I call it life because, like I said, every day I try to be a better person. But on that same note, there are three things I try to do every day, just to keep me sane, because I think if I do these 3 things, I'm a good person. And I think I was raised to be a good person. So 3 of the things I like to do is help someone, give something to someone, or learn something new. And something new that means I have to look at the internet to find something new, because everything that's on the internet ain't true. And sometimes it's all fake news, as Donald Trump liked to say. Fake news is what feed our society. That's what he was talking about. This fake news is feeding our society and making us argue and fight on this social media, because if you actually met the person you were arguing with, I guarantee you won't be arguing with that person. I guarantee you won't be talking about what you're talking about, and if you do, it wouldn't probably go that far unless you're that immature. You got to start being grown folks and start talking about stuff, because grown folks need to talk. Because if you don't talk to nobody and you ain't talking and all you're doing is just hating and saying stuff, and talking to the same people that you know, because everybody that you're around you know, sometimes you need to see something new. You know what I mean? Something new might be what you need to hear, and be around some different people to hear what they have and to get something new. And then that same video I was talking about with Charles Barkley, he was saying that, telling the white guy that the world that you're living in and that you want is not what his kids, his grandkids, and his great grandkids are going to want it, because they're being taught differently. And about two generations from now, this world is not probably going to be like this, but we're trying to change it now so that when they get where they're going, they can make it better. You know what I mean? Because if we don't change it now, when they get there, they're going to change it. And if people that like us that are maybe 60 and 70, 80 years old that ain't ready for this change, are going to have to adapt. And if you ain't adapting, you're going to have a lot of hate in your heart. You're going to die at 80 years old. You know what I mean? Because you couldn't like to adapt to what the world was doing. Because it's going to change. It is going to change, and you're going to be part of the change, or you're going to be against the change. And being against the change is not good for you. So you figure out what you want to do. So I'm gonna ask you guys a question, and I want you to give me answers and post them on my Facebook, or send me an email or a message on the message. So I met this kid who went to school, and he's a psych major, and he was talking about, he's from Nigeria, and he was talking about how being in America, they call us all black, right? And he doesn't consider himself black. I mean, he considers himself African, but not black, because he is from Nigeria. And I got it. And I was like, wow, that's really powerful. So he was saying he was in school, and his teacher or professor posted this. Either it was in class or it was on a wall, bulletin board, people could just write on it. And he asked this one question: what do you like about being white? And the answers that they were giving, the answers that white folks were giving, the answers that black people were giving, or African Americans, and or Latino of Latino descent, and then Asian or Pacific Islander, is what he said. It was on a thing. The answers they were giving back was so different from white people, from black or Hispanic or Asian or Pacific Islander. It was so different from what white folks were saying, and I'm going to show you it, and I'm going to have him on the show to talk about it, and this is probably going to be in 2 weeks, but I want you to answer the question, and I want you to write whatever you think you like about being your race: white, black, African American, Latino, of descent, or Mexican, or Asian, or Pacific Islander, or of any of Asian descent. I want you to either send me a text if you're watching, or if you see the question, I'm going to post it after the show, to see your answers, and then I'm going to have them on the show, and we're going to talk about it, because this is something that the answers that they were giving was really, really, really different, and it was really mind-opening, because in order to, I wish we can go back to Ice Cube and his experiment he did, where we can dress up white folks as black people, and then have black folks dressed as white people, and then send them out into the world and let them do these experiments, and then reveal to the people later that they're a different race, and how they felt, because it was really, really, really mind-blowing on how they felt and what they felt afterwards. Sorry, I needed some water. Doing a lot of talking. But yeah, the 13th Amendment is one of those movies that I watch, and they had some really, really nice quotes in it that I wrote down, because I was like, wow, this is really, really, if I probably can read it. So we realized that, I realized, and I'm pretty sure a lot of America has realized, that this America that we called America was built by black folks, or Native Americans, or Latinos, however you want to call it. Yeah, I seen the pictures of the people on the statue on the Empire State Building, sitting on legs, like they built that. No, they probably worked in the building, but they didn't build that. We know they didn't build that, because they were selling us down on Wall Street, and that's why they call it Wall Street. I don't know if you know that. That was not something else I learned a long time ago, that Wall Street got its name because they were big walls back in that's where they sold. That's where they brought the slaves in. That's where they sold them back in the day. That's why they call it Wall Street, and that's something ironic. You know what I mean? The place where they make all their money, where the stock exchange is called Wall Street. You know, so it's a lot of history that we built this country, and for us to be for anybody that's non-white to be treated the way they're treated is a bad thing, and we got to figure out a way not to let that be, because our future is what's gonna keep this world from not blowing up and from us not all killing each other, because that's what's gonna happen eventually. I think black folks are gonna get fed up and they're gonna do something about it, and if that's the way they're gonna do something about it, then this is not the way to do it. But you know, we gotta eventually get some change or some kind of you can't keep putting band-aids on things, because band-aids don't work. Band-aids fall off. You know, the sore may heal, but the band-aid may fall off and you get a new band-aid sometimes. But this band-aid is gonna fall off one day and we're not gonna be able to put it back on. You know what I mean? So either we as people try to do better, or, you know what I mean, it's just going to blow up in front of our faces and then it's going to be too late to stop it. But yeah, so where do I go here? Oh, so so there was another video that I had just watched and I reposted. I saw the little girl, she was at, I guess, at a community service, and she was talking about why my black people, why you treat us this way, why my mother and fathers are being killed. You know what I mean? It was really deep. And when you have our kids, and she may not have been over me 8, 9, 10 years old, when you have our kids thinking and talking that way, you know, there's a problem, because, you know, kids, they see and they hear everything. They don't think that they're just sitting there being quiet and they don't hear and see everything, because they do. And what they do with it is up to them, but they also have feelings too, and you gotta listen and talk to them too, because that's where it really starts. It starts at home. You know what I mean? This is where you have to put in your work and your time to make sure you're raising good kids, because once they go out into the world, they're gonna be good kids or they're not. It's just up to how you're gonna raise them. But yeah. And you know, and if you raise them right, they won't be in jail, and you won't have to worry about them being stopped by the police. And when they are stopped by the police, they will know how to react to them when they are stopped, and they won't be them being shot either. And you know, like I said, I don't know how the situation goes down, and I don't know all those things, and it's bad that these things are happening, and we just keep right on living and trying, you know. I know there's a lot of people out there trying to do the same thing, but why don't we just all join forces to make us one big force and join together? Because we got all these communities out there doing this and doing that, but nobody's really talking to each other about what they're doing. And I think that they need to start talking to each other so that we can figure out how to make this thing right. But yeah, these things in the I didn't get a chance to read over most of this before I came to you guys because I was late. But yeah, this was something I did right when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with this. Trying to figure out, we're trying to change this world. But I mean, first it starts on social media. That's where we got to start. You know what I mean? Start, you know, people posting things that you may not agree with. Just, you know, either don't, you know, my grandmother always say, if you don't have nothing good to say, don't say nothing at all. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things I want to say to people on the internet about what they write. But you know what? I don't ever want to have nothing good to say, because when you have nothing good to say, that's what the argument starts. And then you're going back and forth with somebody you don't even know, that you may never meet your whole entire life, but you're gonna have an opinion about this person, what this person said. Why? Why does that person affect your day? Because you let it. And all you have to do is just, okay, I might not agree with what he's saying, but that's his thought, good, and you keep strolling down to the next thing. And the next thing may be something happy, because you're in a better mood and you forget about what you just read. Because this is negativity you're putting inside, and you know what I mean, you just gotta eventually just let it go. Yeah. But you gotta also you know, and I also was told, oh, somebody told me that, you know, my opinion, what did it say? Oh, somebody told me that I thought I was better than a lot of people. No, I don't. I treat everybody the same. I don't treat anybody differently. I don't think I'm better than nobody. I don't, I am who I am because I work for who I am, and I was raised right. But I don't think I'm better than nobody. Maybe I disagree with some things, and maybe I don't like some things, but I don't think I'm better than nobody. And that's just not how I was raised and how I feel about anything. Um, um, but as I guess you have to feel like you're better than something or some people because that's, or it's, I don't know. You just gotta feel like you're better because that's the whole point. Once you feel like you're good, then your life can be happy and you can do what you want to do, and put other good happiness out in the world for other people to get their happiness and or just let them see their happiness. Um, as I was talking about a couple weeks ago, emotions is a powerful thing, and I was talking to a guy who was an emotional coach, and I asked him a question, and I was like, as I've gotten older, instead of reacting to things, I tend to not react and just let it be fester or let it marinate for a minute until I can figure out what I want to say without being harsh or mad or angry when I'm writing it. So, you sit for a minute, you take it all in, and you think about it from all directions, the opinion that somebody said or what you may have heard in your experiences or heard in the past. And then you come with an answer and make sure it's a logical answer, because everything is logical. Like I said, people have opinions and feel about things, but it's all about logic. Logic is what this world should be based on, rather than opinions. And because we all got them, and I got them, you got them. This show is about reality sucks, but it's mostly my opinions on what I see on a daily basis. And what goes on in the world on a daily basis, because I don't really do social media that much, and but I do see a little bit every now and then. I'll see the front page of the New York Times at work, and I'd be like, oh, this has just happened, but but that's about it, because I think it's all crazy the way we are living and trying and treating each other. But that's where it's going to start. As I always say, change. The show is called Reality Sucks, but I like to see change, because change is where we're gonna make things better for each other. Now the bugs are coming. But yeah, let me see. So I was also talking about the church, and I think the last time I was here, because the church, the church plays a big part in everybody's lives, and or God. I want to say God, because we go to church and we pray and we do all that stuff. We give tithes and all those things. I think I've always thought church was a great place for people to go gossip and talk about other people. And that's what it is. Everybody get dressed up and they fanciest and they hats and they go there and gossip. That's the black folk church. That's what I know. I don't know about anybody else's, but Catholic and Baptist and all these other names that people have. I can't even know most of the names. But the church is, the Bible is, if you believe in the Bible, then you read the Bible. You don't need somebody to read the Bible and tell you what you need to do with your life. You can go home and read the Bible, and like I said, some scriptures will relate to you and some won't, but you can read it and you can have your own life, because church is something that's been put on us to go and do, and we go do it every Sunday like it's something we have to do. I grew up in the church, and I had to go to church every day. Every Sunday was Sunday school and church on first and fourth Sundays. There was no way out of it. This is what you did. Now, it might have been forced and it might have been good, but it wasn't, because I didn't really care for it. But I had the Lord in my life, and I still have Him. But I don't go to church as much as I used to, because I don't believe you need to go to church and pray and all that stuff. And then because most of you save and all that, but you save Monday through Friday. And then Saturday you going out doing whatever, and then Sunday you go to church and you want to be forgiven all your sins. Like, yeah, okay, great. You know what I mean? But yeah, we all sin. That's what God put on this earth to do. So what I mean? That's what He forgives us for at the same time as you do those sins, because He knows you're going to do them, because He made your life already. But yeah, so sorry, excuse me. So yeah, you just got to. The church is just something that was put in the world to keep us from doing what we really want to do. I think because the Lord has, He got the scriptures for you to read them and try to tell you what relates to you, and that's how you're going to live your life. But as long as you believe in him or believe in something up there, because there is something up there, may not be your God or may not be your Lord or whatever you want to call him, but there's something up there that you believe in, and you just believe in that, and you pray to him or pray to who you pray to, and you just live your life. Because I just think that we're influenced by so much in this world that we don't even take the time to think about who we are, because we're so influenced by so much. But yeah, you just got to be able to figure out who you are. And my friend Brian just joined in, who was having the argument with my friend the other day I was telling you about this social media, how we get into this whole thing. So we just got to figure out how how you're gonna go into react to the things that you see on the internet and people, because like I said, if you actually meet these people, you might not even feel that way. Or if you had a conversation with this person, you didn't know their name, and you just end up finding, oh, this is a guy you met, oh sure, oh wow, this is something else, because people will surprise you once you meet them. And like your feelings on the internet is just what you feel at that moment. Like I say, you need to start now thinking about those things before you respond to them, and why you're responding to it, and why are you feeling this way, because there's a reason for it, and that reason can always change. It's just up to you about changing it. And sometimes people don't need to respond. You just don't need to respond. You just go about your day. Okay, you didn't like it. You didn't like it. So what? I wish there was a dislike button on Facebook, because then that would probably be much easier instead of having opinions about stuff. But yeah, and then how about we stop using black or white or Puerto Rican, or how about we say human being, a person, a guy, a girl? Because once we start using those words, then the other words won't even matter anymore. You know what I mean? Unless you're actually talking to that person. But yeah, because I mean, this is how it all starts. You know what I mean? Because when I tell a story, I do the same thing. Somebody called me on the other day. I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and they were saying, yeah, how about we not use those words? And I was like, you're right. And this was a white middle-aged lady, probably in her 50s, maybe 60s, with a husband, and we're having this conversation about what's going on. I was telling them about my show, and they were like, yeah, how about we just not even use those terms? How about we just use a human being, or a person, or this guy, or this girl? Because it's a lot of times when we tell stories, and if you don't tell the race or the color of the person, somebody in the group or somebody's gonna ask, was he white or black? Because we tend to what's the word I'm looking for? Put stigmas on cultures. Like, oh, how black folks do this. Oh yeah, he was black, right? You know what I mean? Okay, then that's the things we need to stop doing. Because it could have been a white guy. You know what I mean? And I'm always surprised when it's not. You know what I mean? So let's not do all that. Because once we start there, then the rest of the world and everybody else can just start not doing it. Because I mean, we can't go on like this. I will delete my account again and not do this show. I'll do it on somewhere else, because I can't listen. I can't deal with because I was just gonna delete it right off my Facebook page and just do the show live. And if you didn't know, if you got the show, you got it. If you didn't, you didn't. Because I can't deal with people that I know on my page having arguments over something, that is so clear that what is going on, and you want to argue about it, because when you're arguing about stuff that's there, you see what's going on, something is wrong. You know what I mean? So why argue about it? Or why even have that argument? How about be compassionate and say, yeah, we need to try to change this. Yeah, this is wrong. And what can we do? So why can't we all just gang up on this cop and say, hey, well, let's go find this guy's lieutenant and put him on the blast, and then make him feel, you know what I mean? How we do that? You know what I mean? Because once you make him feel as small as he made this guy feel, then he might change how he treats the next person he pulls over. You know what I mean? Because and another thing my grandmother said, don't do unto others, they do unto you. But sometimes I think people need to be done to them what they've done to other people, because then they can see how it feels. Because you have no idea what it feels like to be the outcast in the room, probably, or to be the only one in the room, and not like everybody else, because then you're the target, and nobody will talk to you, but everybody will look at you funny. But they won't say nothing. But everybody look at you, or somebody they'll talk under their breath, and you may hear somebody, anybody gonna say nothing to you, which always bothers me. That people say things when they're angry, but why you have to wait till you get angry to say things to people? You know what I mean? Because have a little more compassion, because people have feelings like you have feelings, and when your feelings are hurt, you know what I mean, it doesn't feel good. So don't do it to somebody else because it doesn't feel good. But yeah. So with all that being said, so now how are we gonna move forward? And I wish people would send me text messages or messages, because I think if we all start talking about how we make this world better, I think we all can do it as one unit and not as one individual, or you know what I mean? Because I think if we do it all as a unit, it'll make things better. But yeah. We also got to understand too that fantasy, we're going to do it, we're going to have a talk about fantasy versus reality, because people, like I said, on the internet live in that fantasy world, and then they don't realize that they got to go out into the real world and deal with the real world. And that's the reason people are so angry, because they don't know how to deal with the real world, because they think that fantasy is what they're living, but it's not. You gotta live that reality, because that's what you live in every day. You go outside your house and you interact with other people, whether it be the person at the gas store getting your gas, or 7-Eleven, or the person that you work with every day. You know what I mean? There are things that you can do just to be nicer people to each other. When you see each other in the morning, you say hello to everybody, give a good smile, good morning, how are you? You know what I mean? Because that changes people's day. You know what I mean? And the smile. If we do that to each other every morning, you see somebody walking by the hallway down the street, good morning, how are you? They're gonna say is good, and how are you? And you say good, thanks, and a smile. And maybe in the conversation may even start that you don't even know you was gonna have. And you may have something in common you never knew you had in common, and you're like, oh wow, I talked to this person today. You learned something new, or you did something to help somebody. You know what I mean? But yeah, you just gotta figure out the fantasy and the reality, because everything is not for you. So you gotta take what's for you and use it, rather than trying to deal with things that's not for you, because everything is not for you. And some things are made for other people, and some things are not made for you. And once you learn that, a little bit of that may come, a little bit of getting to know yourself may come. Because as I worked for that family for many years, living in their world kind of made my world view differently. And I mean both on the financial level and also on the class level and the race level. And that was a lot to see, a lot to handle. And then I was grounded about 5 years back, and realized that living your reality, living your life, because living in theirs or somebody else's wasn't good for me, because it just was not good. And you gotta because I thought that traveling around the world, there are, it's not as bad, I guess you could say, but there is a little bit of racism around the world, but it's not as bad as I thought. But when it does happen, it's so bad, or so in your face, that you don't even react, because your reaction to it, they won't get it. But you just kind of take it all in, and because it's a little different than it is here, rather than in your face. Because most of them don't get it, and then when it does happen, they actually, the one thing I love about Europe is they stand up for you. They stand up for for this, because they don't like it. Yeah, then I say that it doesn't happen and it's not happening, but I know that it is, but it's not as it in your face as it is here, and they think we're crazy for having this issue. And then I also want to talk about, black folks are always talking about how white folks don't treat us this, or white folks don't do this, that, or other races don't do this, that. But how do we treat each other? Because we wouldn't even treat each other nice. You know what I mean? Nothing hurts me more than when I see, people say that I'm not black. Nothing hurts me more than when I see a black guy with 5 white guys that went to Ivy League schools, and they walk and they don't even want to look at you, no matter what. And and why I grew up and how I grew up, even if you don't know the person, you gave the head nod. You know what I mean? You acknowledge each other. You know what I mean? Because it ain't too many of us around that do things like that. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? Because, and if I ain't helping my other people get in, you know what I mean? I always want to bring somebody in. But no, you always got to see, you know what I mean? You got to, you know, we got to start treating each other better before anybody else going to treat us better. Because as long as we're doing bad to each other, why should anybody else do better for us? You know what I mean? And that's what I had to learn about, you know, that's an individual thing too. You know what I mean? It's not about, you know, everybody else in the world. It's about you. How you going to treat yourself? How you think you're supposed to get better if you ain't treating yourself better? And not putting something out there in the world that's good. And, you know, because God, like God, what they say, Southern thing, they say God don't like ugly. But yeah. And, you know, and, you know, we all upset now. You know, this is history. You know, this is all our history, and history just keep repeating itself and keep repeating itself, and we keep repeating itself, and we don't even change it. You know what I mean? And we keep having generations and generations that are not changing. We got 2 generations before things change. We got 2 more generations now. I don't know what people are doing now, but 2 more generations, things are going to be a whole way differently. As the one guy said in the video, your kids are not going to be fully white in 20 years. Your grandkids are not going to be fully white, and he's so right about that. Because all these other kids in these families are mixed race, and they're teaching their kids. These kids don't even know probably, you know, what race is sometimes, but they don't care. They don't care about skin color. They don't care about what your mother do or what your mama make and how much money you got. They just care about that person. And, you know, that's what we have to start learning how to do, is care about the person. Don't care about what they have and what they don't have. And if you can help. You know what I mean? Because, you know, that's going to make them better, and they can go help somebody else. And I always believed in paying it forward. And that's another thing I want to start putting out into the world. You know what I mean? Paying it forward. You know, paying it forward is a big, big thing. There was a movie about it a few years ago, and I watched it. And I'm going to start this, and I want this to be a chain, and I want people to post this too, also too, on my page, or send me a message. So we're going to pay it forward. So I'm going to ask you, whenever you decide to help somebody, and you talk to that person, you help them, or whatever you're going to do, you ask them, you don't ask for it to be repaid back. Do it as a gift, or help them, and then all you ask them, the only thing you want them back in return from them is to help 3 people. You help those 3 people, and then the only thing you tell them to do is ask that next person to do the same thing. You know, when you help. And I think that's, you know, when you post your stories, and people, I'm probably gonna do a hashtag of it, and you can just do it on my page. And I'm gonna post my stories of helping somebody and paying it forward, 3 people. And we're gonna do it. Let's say 3 people, help 3 people a week. And then you post it and you tell me that you helped somebody, because I think it's gonna come back full circle. And once we start paying it forward and helping and doing each other right, I think this world would be we're gonna have a better place. Yeah. And then we also have to learn, you know, we got to figure out what are your morals, you know, how do you respect people, what's your level of respect you give people, and you know, use the internet for social media, but let's try using it for educating yourself about what's good in the world, and what instead of reading all this bad stuff that's going on, and see what's going on good in the world. Yeah, because I mean, we can all just sit back and look at what was bad, but you know, and talk about it. But what are we doing? You know, what are you doing every day to do good in the world? To try to change the way people around you, or people that you know, to change. Yeah, and I think this pay it forward thing, as I said before, it should stick. And I think if you do it, but yeah, you could just do that, and I think that way, you know, you can start opening up people's eyes, and then, you know, talk to people, you know, tell them your experience about life and how you've been treated, and, you know, whether you black, white, Puerto Rican, or Haitian, just talk to each other, because I think that is going to get us to find out, like I said before, we're much more alike than we are different. Only thing that's different about us is the color of our skin. And Martin Luther King said it best in his speech. But yeah, I mean, God just gave us a lot of colors so that we were different. because that's what he wanted. You know what I mean? If he wanted us all to be white, then there would be nothing different about this world. If he wanted us to be black, there would be nothing different about this world. You know, he gave us all these differences so that we can actually be amongst each other and live amongst each other and see our differences and appreciate our differences, because that's what makes this world that we call America. People being different, having different opinions, different feelings, different lifestyles, different whatever they want to do, because that's what God wanted us to be. Because I mean, he didn't just, you know, make one color, you know, and just left the world, because that wouldn't have been right. I mean, there would be all the same people doing all the same things, and then what would that do? How would this world be with just one race? What would we all do if we were all white? And there was no other colors. Oh man, can you imagine the pool table just being one white ball shooting all other white balls? No, I'm just joking. But yeah, and I think I talk about race a lot, and you know, and this whole killing and black and all this, because this is, you know, this is what this world was built on. This is how this world has been. It's just that now these video cameras and all these things that we have is coming to light to see, you know, what is really going on. And it's just, you know, it's making people angry, and the media does no good in trying to, you know, make it better. They just make it worse, and you just see it, and you know, it infuriates you into a place. You know, you're in a house with your wife or your girlfriend or by yourself. It just puts this anger in you, and then now if you don't talk about it, then it just fills up into you. It's like a problem, you know what I mean? It just builds up into you until you want to burst, and then you just burst wide open, and then it's just bad after that. But yeah, you just got to learn how to deal with these anger, you know, this anger, because yeah, you gotta get it. You gotta get inside you and find out what this anger, how is this making you so mad? And once you figure that out, I mean, I think you can do some things. You can do some powerful stuff. Yeah, just getting a little tiring sitting up now. But yeah, so I think that I've said enough, I think, but not too much. So I'm going to also refer to now Tom Brokaw. They did a 50th anniversary on him in January, and I've always watched his show. And then he retired, I think, and then they gave him a 50th anniversary show. And he said some things that resonated with me, and I was like, you know, this is really what our kind of social media and life has come to. And somehow we got to figure out a way to do change, and that's the big word. As I wrote it here, the big word, change. People got to do some change. So many more sources of information now. Many of them rely heavy on opinion rather than just straight news. That can be confusing to the news consumers. Then people out there have all these choices where to get information and develop hatred, affection, and other things. And the rest of us are out there figuring out what world we belong to, we belong in. And this is the people like me who are trying to change, or you know, people that are watching that want a better world too. Because you know, if we're the only ones watching this show and trying to change, I mean, we're outnumbered. You know, society is way more than us. So how do we do the best to get our sources of information so that we don't develop hatred and affection and other things? Because this is what the social media does. He also said social media, I'm quoting him basically every word for word he said, social media have changed the distribution of information and misinformation profoundly. And I believe that so wholeheartedly, because it has. And then he says, I think we have underestimated the impact of social media. I mean, this stuff is so sophisticated and mostly in attack mode of some kind. You're not going to believe then he says he was asked, you're not going to believe what I read on the internet. And he says, you're right, I'm not going to believe what you read on the internet. Because, you know what I mean, the internet is not always true. Sometimes it's just stuff to put there, to put that fuel inside you. And then he says, the one question he asked was, who can you believe? And then he says, make some, his answer to the question was, make some initial effort about who and where you get your news or information. As you do, as if you were buying a new car or a new house or a flat screen television set, you do due diligence. You know what I mean? That's how you how you get your, that's how you get the best house or the best car, the best deal. You do due diligence. So that's how you get your news. You know what I mean? Go to the news where you know it's going to be true. I used to watch the BBC a lot, and I do every now and then because it's real news. Not that they don't care about the little neighborhood killing and all that, because that's little stuff that we don't need to see. We need to see the real problems of the world, what's going on in the world, because a lot of stuff we don't get to see and we don't know because that's not the news that we watch. But there's more to this world than what we see here. You know what I mean? And there's a bigger world out there if we want to be part of it. But we live in this America that doesn't want us to see that, or be part of it, or try to change. We got to change it. But it's also a teaching thing. You know what I mean? We got to teach each other how to interact with each other, because a lot of times we don't interact because we don't know. And if we start teaching and start learning and listening, we might get into a better place. I think the world is afraid of change, because I also believe that we're afraid of what we don't know, because we don't know that if we all decide that we're going to be one, what's going to change, and how this world will be. But I think it'll be a better, happy place, and everybody get along, everybody start helping people again, and start talking to each other, even strangers, you know what I mean? And you start helping people. And that's what it's all about, helping, because the main goal of this show is to end poverty and hunger in this world. Because that's another thing I want to talk about. We have all these millionaires and billionaires in here that don't want to help our own people. You know what I mean? They don't even help our own country, but they want to go somewhere else and help and do and dig for oil and all those things or whatever they do over there. But then they want to come back and look down on the people that live in this America, that can't make it or hasn't made it yet or live in poverty. Because you got to realize the same people, we've been on this, whole Trump thing and how this white America is coming back, and we're going backwards and not forward. But you have to understand, who was at fault for this guy being president? The same people that didn't go vote because nobody liked her, they hated her, or they didn't want to vote. You know what I mean? And the same exact thing happened opposite of Obama. I mean, people that never voted in their whole entire life came out and voted for Obama, and then people that never voted for white folks in the world came out and voted for Trump. And then some people that drink, that live in mountains and never come out and do anything. The same thing did for us, So we can't really be mad, And the people that didn't vote, they just didn't vote, and that's why he's our president. So don't be angry or upset that he's not your president, or you're mad, Don't be because he's your president. He's gonna be president for the next 4 years and possibly 8. The way that America's going, he might be 8. So yeah, I mean, and that's how we got our president. So you can't be mad, just live with it and do the best you can in the life you live in, because most of the time it probably won't even affect you, in most ways, maybe ways that you may not be able to see now, because how is this president affecting your life every day? What is he doing to you every day that makes you hate him or dislike him or have the feelings that you have about him? Yeah, he's not the best guy in the world, and we all know that. But that doesn't mean you got to have bad ill will toward him. Because, it's funny, I work on Fifth Avenue where his Trump Tower is, and, people that hate him come by and take pictures with his building. I'm like, how is that a monument to come and do? Oh, because he's the president? Okay. That's, I'm just saying. I don't even, there's another book that I read, because I have 2 books that I read. One I'm reading and one I read, which is Trevor Noah. I think you guys, if you haven't read it, I think it's a book you should read. It's called Born a Crime, because he was, it's a really good book, and I think it was in Africa, not Africa. I can't remember. I thought I wrote it down, but I can't remember where it was. And he's had some great quotes in his book that I like. And Kevin Hart's book is another book that I just got, that I'm reading. I read Trevor Noah's already a few months back. but he has some great quotes. And this is, you know, we don't realize that the people that you're around and the people you hang around, you know, they kind of determine who you are. So he says in his quote for quote, word for word, page 228 of his book, Trevor Noah, Born a Crime, you must be careful who you surround yourself with, because who you are can determine who you're around can determine who you are. And somebody told me this a long time ago too, your friends are a reflection of you. And I never really understood that until I was out one night with some friends, and I wasn't saying much, I was kind of hanging out. And I understood that because they were doing things and saying things that I don't really agree with. And I didn't say anything, but I just didn't, you know, and maybe later on I did as a conversation, but later on I told them, but I didn't say anything at the time. And that's another thing, you gotta start standing up for who you are and let people know what you stand for and what you don't. Because if you don't, it's gonna be able to think they can do, and you agree with them. And if you don't agree, let them know you don't agree and why you don't agree. Because it might change the way they feel about what they were saying. Because a lot of people don't know that they're offended, or you're offended by what they say or what they do, unless you tell them. There's another quote he said, which was so true, and it resonated, because when you think about it, it is true. And this was his. If you have his book, or if you read his book, this was on page 221 and 222. Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. I'll say that again. The hood or the ghetto was built in the first place to keep the victims of apartheid, blacks, minorities, etc., out of the sight of the mind. Because if white people ever saw black people as human, they would see that slavery is unconscionable. And I believe that wholeheartedly. You know, we have this whole race thing because of slavery, and you know, slavery was a bad thing for black people, and I can't even imagine. I've seen the movies, I've seen the stories, you know, my great-grandfather talked to me about it. I can't even imagine living in that time, and I said it before, and I don't think that people in this lifetime will be able to handle what my great-grandfather and people and Martin Luther King, what they tried to do, because we weren't emotionally equipped for it. As I always use that word, because everything is dealt with emotions, whether it be you being happy or you being sad. It's an emotion, and that's what we deal with. But he was saying, you know, I lost my train of thought again. So, and then you know, he also said another thing, which is on page 122 of his book. We live in a world where we don't see the ramifications of what we do to others because we don't live with them. That's a big statement, because I mean, we don't see the ramifications of what we do to others. You know what I mean? Sometimes, because sometimes they don't react, and they may go home and, you know, feel bad about it or cry about it. Some people, you know, some people hurt their feelings and they go home and cry. You know what I mean? And that's, you know, and then they pull out a gun and they kill people. You know what I mean? So I mean, you got to figure out how you treat others, because you never know what may turn somebody to, and that's the second off, and go crazy. He also posted in his thing that something that Nelson Mandela once said: if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language that goes to his heart, it's a better way to get to him. You know what I mean? Or get to anybody. You know what I mean? You don't talk to them through the head, you talk to people's hearts. Because our hearts is what keeps us pumping every day, and what keeps us who we are, and try to make us good people every day. I'm so sorry, but I have to. But yeah. Oh wow, and there's another quote he had in his book, which was really, you know, it is one thing to be born in the hood and know that you will never leave the hood. That was another thing that resonated, because, I mean, nothing wrong with living in the hood or the ghetto. I mean, I don't think there's nothing wrong with it, because you gotta live somewhere, and if that's the way you were raised, that doesn't have to be your future. You know what I mean? You can always make better. You can start there, but you can always go somewhere else. You know what I mean? And that's where it goes with change. You know what I mean? Just because you started there doesn't mean you got to end there. That's why they call it the starting line and the finish line. Even in the middle, if you go there in the middle, you know what I mean? Something bad, you know, you start somewhere else and you get better, and you don't, or you don't. But, you know, just because you live in the hood doesn't mean you have to have hood mentality or ghetto mentality. You know what I mean? Because I like sometimes to be ghetto, sometimes I like to be hood, just because, you know, it's fun. Sometimes it's fun. You know what I mean? If you, it's fun to do it. You know what I mean? But that ain't that's not who I am, and that's not who everybody is. I mean, but if you're gonna be hood, then be a true hood, and don't change. You know what I mean? Don't try to be something one day and then something else the other day. You know what I mean? Be the hood guy you are, because I mean, people accept you more if you're that guy all the time, rather than trying to be something else. Because who cares? You know what I mean? But yeah, so I think that we have chatted enough tonight. I do like your messages. I do like that you guys tuned in, and thank you for tuning in to Reality Sucks. I gave you guys, I think, 2 assignments. One was try to do 3 things. I gave you 3 assignments. So one assignment is try to do 3 things every day to help somebody. You got to do these 3 things: help someone, give to someone, and learn something new. Those are 3 things you got to do every day. I think that's going to make you feel better every day. And also speak to your peoples in the morning when you go to work. Say good morning, how you doing? How was your day? How was your night? What'd you do? You know what I mean? Get into a little conversation. It ain't got to be a whole long drawn out. It could just be just a nice little conversation to make the day go on. And like, hey, I talked to somebody today, because most people don't get to talk to people sometimes. And texting and all this stuff is not good. So you got to talk to people. The other thing is pay it forward. I'm hashtag that also too, pay it forward. So when you help somebody, ask them to do 3 things. You got to ask them to pay it forward to somebody else 3 times. And then they're done. And then, like I said, hopefully the circle will come back around. And then also too, the last thing, which we're gonna have in 2 weeks, and I want you, it's gonna be in 2 weeks from this Wednesday. I'll see you guys next Wednesday, hopefully at 7. Might do Tuesdays next week rather than Wednesday, but I'll figure that out. The last one is, what do you like about being, whether you're white, black, African American, Latino descent, Asian or Pacific Islander. I really want you guys to see how you feel and your answers, because like I said, this experiment the teacher did was really good. And I'll probably be better and better what I'm doing as the weeks goes on, I hope, because I think I get lost in words, and I forget things, and I may repeat things also too. So hopefully I'll get better at that, so you guys don't be listening to the same thing over and over for an hour. Thank you guys for tuning in, and also thank you for your notes. I know I don't respond to them during the show, which I should. I'm gonna try to get better at that, or at least respond to you after the show. But yeah, thank you again for tuning in, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Have a good night.